Meet the LDV Terron 9. It's a big ute. In fact, it's bigger than the Ranger. It's bigger than the HiLux, and it's also bigger than its closest rival, the GWM Cannon Alpha. In the dual cab diesel ute world, size matters, and Chinese brand LDV is betting that this upsized rig will lure buyers who think bigger is better. Big towing capacity? Check. Big tray and payload? Double check. Big enough to make parking an absolute nightmare? You betcha. This is everything you need to know about the new Terron 9. The Terron 9 is the first all-new ute from LDV in more than a decade and is a very big deal for the Challenger brand. It'll be sold alongside its little brother, the T60, but upsizes pretty much everything, including the price tag. This new Terron 9 will top out at just under 60k drive away for the top-spec Evolve model. The top-spec model won't arrive until later in 2025, but this one, the entry-level Origin, is rolling into dealerships right now, priced from just under 54k drive away, which represents pretty reasonable value considering what you get. Oh, and if you have an ABN, you can slice another $3,000, give or take, off the drive-away prices of these utes. And when you compare the pricing to what you would get in a HiLux or a Ranger, the differences are stark. You are basically only able to afford an entry-level version of either of the two established players. This is what LDV is pushing. They're saying, yes, we're an unknown brand. We haven't sold a stack ton of utes, but this is our point of difference, if you like. And I think they are going to find some favor in that. And I think this car will have a lot of showroom appeal. When you sit in it, it's pretty special. There's a huge amount of room in this cabin, and that's what you get from a big ute that's almost 2 meters wide. So I'm not encroaching on the other passenger here. This central section of the armrest is super wide. It's very, very open and airy, and I quite like that. And the cabin? It's pretty schmick. It feels like the love child of a BYD and a Volvo. So you've got lots of tech, but there's also a really earthy feel, lots of grey tones, and this sort of imitation wool finish on the seats. It kind of works. It's a little different, but I like it. All models, even this entry level, get power operated driver's seat, and the top spec Evolve get heated, cooled, and massaging front seats. You won't find that on a HiLux. I like these physical toggle switches here. You've got fan adjustment, auto, and there's also some temperature adjustment for the dual zone climate control. But that's about it for the physical controls. There is another button here that adjusts some of the driving modes in the menu, and you've got the various off-road modes, but a lot of it's going to have to be done through the screen, a lot of the features and functions. So I think this futuristic minimalist layout, there's not going to be a lot of middle ground here. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. Like everything else in this car, storage is big. There's room here, there's 2 phone holders here. None of them are wireless chargers though, which is a bit disappointing. You get that in the top spec model. There's a huge area here, removable spring-loaded cup holders, USB ports, 12-volt sockets, and the overall vibe, quite futuristic from the way the storage looks to the dashboard here. These two 12.3-inch digital screens dominate the dash, and they've got some very sci-fi flourishes. And again, this 2-spoke steering wheel adds to that sort of sci-fi theme. The infotainment system is impressive. It's pretty quick to react, and there's lots and lots of options, but it doesn't feel like the typical digital soup we see in a lot of Chinese cars where there's just so much crammed into one thing. This feels a little bit more westernized in a lot of ways. All the menus are really obvious and well thought out, and there's still a lot of depth in there as well, which I like. And it's also got some features that you won't find on entry-level utes, including a 360-degree parking camera. That is not too shabby for what is the base model. All right, let's talk off-roading, and all models come with an on-demand four-wheel drive system. So we can go here and we've got four-wheel drive, we've got auto, or we've got two-wheel drive, which is rear-wheel drive. Plus they have a locking rear diff and a low range setting as well. The addition of that low range transfer case gives this vehicle a lot more scope to get properly off-road. So you flick it in 4L and basically you've got a slow speed, high torque rock crawling machine. Well, in theory, we'll give it a little blast in a minute. There's a bunch of different off-road modes as well, and they can be toggled with the touchscreen or with this little toggle here, which is actually pretty handy. Like, it only does this, but it's going to be useful when you're bouncing along off-road and you just want to flick it into mud mode or what have you. There's also more settings, including desert off-road, which sounds a little bit exciting. And there's even custom modes. So you can decide what power, what four-wheel drive, steering assist, and stability you want as well. So it's kind of nice that it's got all those different features, and yeah, a little bit of individualization never hurts. They've simplified all the off-road settings, which I quite like. I think the button pushes are nice. It's very, very friendly for newbies to off-roading, if you like. And the top-spec Evolve models also get a locking rear diff as well as locking front diff. So that's pretty cool. You could whack a pair of all-terrain tires on this thing and it should go pretty well. This one is fitted with, they're fitted with highway terrain tires as standard, and ride height is 220 millimeters, which is not terrible. It's not class leading either, but it should be more than enough for what most people need to get off-road and not scrape the bottom of the car and totally destroy its underpinnings. Okay, the back seat is very roomy. Surprise, surprise. I've got my seat where I like to sit. It is quite low, so I can't get my feet right under the seats there, but overall, it is surprisingly comfy and spacious back here. You've got this flat floor that helps it feel a little bit more airy. And again, these cloth seats, the cushioning, it's all very comfortable. It's all a lot nicer than I was expecting. And also the angle of the seat backs are not bolt upright like a lot of more traditional utes. So comfort levels are good. The headrests are nice, and there's plenty of amenity too. You've got the air vents, USB A and C. There's a massive storage in here, storage here, plus push button doors at the back again. Not everyone's going to love them. And if the battery dies and this doesn't work, there is a redundancy down here. You pull out this little fella here and you can see there's a little, well, you probably can't, but there's a little grab handle there that will basically pull open the door for you. This does feel more like the BYD Shark 6 in that it's bigger, it's more comfortable. It feels more like a family SUV in some ways than it does a ute. And you've got top tether anchorages for child seats. You've got ISOFIX as well. So I think families are probably going to take a bit of a squiz at this as well. At 5.5 meters long, this vehicle is 130 millimeters longer than the Ranger and 175 millimeters longer than the HiLux, which are right now the two best-selling utes in Australia. That said, the next-gen Toyota HiLux is supposed to arrive in 2026, and it could supersize that brand's ute, which could tip the balance of power in Toyota's favour. There's no traditional handle, it's just this little button here, and I like that the tailgate has dampers here. It's got lift assistance, so it's nice and easy to fold down and push up. Now, this vehicle has a payload of 1,100 kilograms, which is very competitive, and it's a lot more than the GWM Cannon Alpha Ute, which is again, one of those slightly larger utes we're starting to see. The tray itself is big. This is 1600 by 1600 millimeters, outsizing the HiLux and the Ranger. You get a bit less payload in the top spec model, about 100 kilograms less, and the tray itself is very big, so that's a big plus point, but it's a little bit Spartan in terms of amenity. You've got 4 tie-down points and not much else. There's no lighting in this entry-level model. There's no rail system. There's no power point. So yeah, I feel like they could have done a little bit more here, but yeah, there you go. You can lock the tailgate. I like that, that's so easy to lift. And there's a full-size spare tire under here with an alloy rim. But yeah, I'm kind of missing the fact that there's no cover here. There's lacking a bit of amenity. You do have some measurements along the back here, but it's not quite as advanced as what you get with, say, the Ranger, where you've got the clamp holders and things like that. And unlike the Ranger, there's no little super secret step here to get into the tray. So a few opportunities missed there. Okay, I must briefly touch on the exterior design, which is best described as confronting. I mean, look at that grille. It's big enough to swallow hatchbacks whole. The tray looks like it was designed with Lego bricks and a spirit level. It's like a big mecha robot thingy that's ready to transform and stomp through a city or something. But even if you reckon this ute is but ugly, at least it's in good company. Have you seen the new Kia Tasman ute? Not pretty. And what about this vehicle's twin under the skin, the MG U9? That ain't pretty either. And here's food for thought. That MG could be just as well equipped and possibly even cheaper. Other nice exterior features include the side steps, the roof rails, and all models coming to Australia will come standard with a tow bar with a 3,500 kilogram towing capacity. Now, it will come with the tow bar, the wiring harness, and the tongue and the down ball, everything. It won't just be a little bit and then you've got to buy a few extra accessories. So they're throwing a lot into this, and I suppose for the money, it does represent compelling value. So let's break down the towing. You've got 3,500 kilogram capacity. Now, when you look at the GCM, or gross combined mass of everything, 6,500 kilograms, plus the curb weight of the vehicle, 2,400 kilograms. It's pretty heavy. You're looking at about 600 kilograms of wiggle room towing that full 3.5 ton trailer. So that 600 kilograms includes stuff in the tray, stuff in the back seat, passengers. That's a pretty competitive figure. That said, me personally, I'm not sure I'd be comfortable motivating 6.5 tons with this rig, but hey, we'll give it a proper test in due course. Alrighty, let's give this a go. And one thing that I find interesting straight away is you cannot put it into drive unless you put the seatbelt on, which I reckon farmers are going to find pretty annoying. I mean, you could do the old plug it in behind you, click, yep, that'll work, you know, because if you're getting in and out of the car constantly, you don't really want to be putting it on and off, especially if you're in your private property. But anyway, so safety first, seatbelt on, chuck it in drive, and we are in eco mode, and let's give the engine a bit of a, yeah, well, it's not as rattly and noisy as I thought it would be. Seems like there's actually reasonable refinement to this engine. I don't mind that at all. So what we're looking at is a 2.5 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel, single turbo diesel. And it is the most powerful 4-cylinder turbo diesel in Australia, except for the Toyota HiLux GR Sport. So, you know, that's a pretty good accolade, and yeah, it feels pretty reasonable. We're getting a whole bunch of beeping and bleeping, so I guess all the safety nannies work, and there's a lot of them, and you can turn them off. You probably want to do that. But yeah, the engine feels fairly responsive. That automatic gearbox is doing the job. It's not the quickest of shifters. Now let's have a fiddle. We'll pop it into sport mode, flicking the button. No, it's not going to go into sport mode. Let's hit mode. There we go. All right, sport. Put to the floor. Reasonable acceleration. Certainly not mind-blowing, but bear in mind, this vehicle is 2.4 tons. It's heavy. So because I've only got a very short time with this car, I will focus mostly on the engine, but I will say this about the ride and handling. It's fairly well damped and sprung. It seems to be soaking up most of the bumps and lumps, and it's got pretty good body control too. I'm not feeling too much tilt through some of the corners, so that bodes well for what is essentially a very, you know, rudimentary agricultural ladder frame chassis setup. Yeah, I don't mind this at all. And again, I think it comes back to that idea that that a lot of Chinese brands are now pushing the Ute as the new SUV, and it definitely feels like that's what they were shooting for here in terms of the way it sits on the road and the chassis and the suspension. Okay, so the Terron 9's little brother, the T60, has a 2-litre twin turbo diesel engine compared to this single turbo 2.5. And the power and torque are not that far off this vehicle, but this one does feel, going over the bumps, it's quite good. This one does feel gruntier for sure. There's just, it's a little bit more effortless, especially lower in the rev range. Now we are in sport, and I am going to give it a bit of a squirt from standstill. Let's see what it sounds like. Ooh, look at that, 120, Lang Lang Proving Ground, good speed limit. Gear changes are smooth, still going 90, 100. So yeah, that's not super rapid, but again, this is a big unit, big and heavy. So it does all right. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes towing, but and we do have a bit of ballast in the back, so it's not too shabby. Getting back to the differences with its little brother, the T60, because this is a 25% larger engine, it does feel like you get more off-boost power. It just feels like there's a bit more grunt low in the rev range before that turbo really spools up. And should be noted though, this is around 300 kilograms heavier. This is a Tyrannosaurus Rex, if you will. And that's going to affect fuel economy as well. This thing is going to be thirsty. My average is 13.8 at the moment, but again, I'm barely spending an hour in this driving around the ride and handling course at Lang Lang Proving Ground. So swings and roundabouts. I think if you're looking at hauling heavier loads and you want a bigger ute, then this would be the way to go. But that T60 is also very compellingly priced. Like most turbo diesel 4-cylinder utes available in Australia, this one is pumping through an 8-speed automatic transmission, driving all 4 wheels, or just the rear wheels if you want to set it in 2-wheel drive mode. There's 4-wheel drive, there's 4-wheel drive auto, there's quite a lot of modes, and as mentioned before, the customizability of all those different modes is pretty cool as well. It rides on double wishbone front suspension, and it's got leaf rear springs, so that's what gives it that handy payload in the tray. In terms of perception from the driver's seat, it does feel like a big ute. The rippled bonnet, the high ride height, this does feel like an upsized vehicle, and the vision is excellent, very, very good. Those big slab-sided windows, very nice. Overall, this is a lot more sophisticated than I thought it would feel. There's a certain level of refinement about the way it rides, handles, and especially that engine. It's not as loud and clattery as I thought it would be. The gear shifts are fairly smooth and fairly rapid. It's definitely made a better impression than anticipated. These are pre-production models, and you can tell there's a couple little things like some of the electronic systems, some of the driving aids need a little bit of work, and there's a squeak from the seat base when you go around corners. But hopefully this sort of stuff will be ironed out when the production cars arrive in Australia very, very soon. Alrighty, we're going to do a little bit of off-roading. We'll see what the off-road systems are like. So I want to chuck it in low range. So first I'm going to hit park and then hit up, neutral, for low, rock terrain. So we get a few extra options there. That sounds good. And we'll go off-road expert mode. It says we've got 25-degree departure angle, 28-degree approach angle. And actually, let's lock the rear diff as well. One touch and we're locked. Nice and easy. All right, we'll head up this steep climb. Plenty of torque, easy done. And using the camera here, oh, bit of a water splash. There we go, through the puddle. It's all very user-friendly. I do like that. Bearing in mind this is on highway terrain tyres, it feels quite capable. It's not having any issues here. I mean, LDV have developed this ute from the ground up, all new engine, all new platform. It's promising. The early signs are promising. Well, just a little taste test of what it can do off-road, but locking rear diff, low range transfer box, reasonable ground clearance. What's impressive is that the wheels aren't spinning much at all, even though we're on highway terrain tyres, which suggests the four-wheel drive system is pretty savvy. Oh, that's good. I like that in 4 low, you can use the paddle shifters to manually override gears. So if you don't want to stress the engine too much, but don't want to be shifting back between 4 high and 4 low, that works. So that is the all-new LDV Terron 9 in a nutshell. We'll save our official verdict until we've spent more than just a couple of hours on a proving ground in a pre-production vehicle. But early impressions are cautiously positive. It's very large, it's very good value for money, and it's very well equipped. Thanks for watching, and what do you reckon? Is LDV onto a winner here? Can it compete with the big boys? Let me know in the comments below.